This is going to be one of those episodes that, well, we'll see how it plays out. You ever had that person in your life that said something to you, loved on you, pushed on you, pulled on you, and to this day, without them in your life, you're not the person that you are? This is what today's going to be about. I'm going to talk about one of the people in my life that's done that exactly for me. Give you a little context here. Uh, you know, there's not a single person I've ever met ever in my life who's ever done anything alone, no matter how much it looks like. The greatest of the great people I've ever known in real connection or through watching through TV or movies or reading about them in a book. Like no one's ever done anything alone. And typically they've had some great people in their life love on them, push on them, pull on them, guide them through life. We all have those. One of the most special people I had in my life was my grandmother. My mom's mom was an immigrant from Germany. And I was the oldest grandkid, four grandkids. I was the oldest. And she lived two streets away from me the first 10 years of my life. She was an important person, not just because of how she loved me, but important because of her life before me and how I learned so many things from her. So let me bring it even to more context. 10 years ago, 2013, my daughter was born August 5th. Now, give you some context even with that. My wife and I had a home birth. And I know that's sometimes controversial, a little different for most people, but it was my wife's choice that she wanted to do that. And I supported it and actually got very excited about it because I felt very included and learned a lot through that process. So we had I say we, it's really my wife giving birth, but we had an expectation that our daughter was going to be born middle to end of August. And so on a Sunday, August 4th, we had for our business a back to school bash where we did a pool party. My wife's super pregnant at the time. She loves to dance. We have music playing. We're into the party. People are leaving. She's dancing, having a great time. We're laughing. We go home that night. It's late at night. All right. My son's 5 at the time. Jackson's 5 at the time. And our doula had dropped off what was an inflatable indoor pool of which you'd give birth if you're doing a home birth. We decided to go ahead and test it out and blow it up, see how big it was. And it was way bigger than I thought it was going to be. And so it's Sunday night, and we decide that we're not gonna worry about taking it down. It took a lot of time to do that. We're gonna leave it there. We had a bird fly in the house, right? Just it was a fun and funny night. We go to bed. Wake up the next morning. We have a very, very important meeting at 9 o'clock the next morning. That will be on a future episode. We'll talk about that. And so 7 o'clock, my wife's going to the bathroom, and of course, her water breaks. So we call everybody, get everything handled. People are coming to the house. We're walking up and down the street doing laboring, or she's doing it. I'm just kind of support. All right, I keep trying to take credit. I did do the hard work. This goes on through a process throughout the day. And at 4:08 p.m., my daughter Lakin was born. A healthy, beautiful baby. Most amazing experience. All right. If you ever are going to go down that route, a home birth is an amazing, beautiful experience, and everything went off pretty much perfect. And you want to talk about a high point in life? You guys, your parents, right? It's just really hard to put into words what it feels like to see something come into this world that you are a big part of and will be for life. And it was just such a different experience, right? So, after Lakin's born and then the placenta comes out, like work gets cleaned up, and I'm holding my daughter chest to chest, cord still attached there for, like it's, what normally would have, years ago freaked you out because you don't understand that world. In this moment, nothing. Like it's amazing. We have dinner at our house that night. We weigh her, cut the cord, like all those type things. Just a high point, like one of the most special, important days that I ever could have. So everyone leaves that night. We know my parents are coming back the next morning. And so we finally get to sleep. It's kind of hard when you're like this roller coaster of emotion for the day, all high points and a lot of adrenaline. Early the next morning, I believe it's 5:36 in the morning, we knock on the door. I knew it was my parents were coming at some point. I'm waking to, going to the door, instantly open the door. I can tell something's wrong. And that's when I find out in the middle of the night, My grandmother has an aneurysm and dies. And you want to talk about, just thinking about it, I got chills right now. You want to talk about going from one of the greatest highs you ever can have as a human being to give life to this world, to losing someone who's been one of the most significant people in your life with just hours in between. It's an emotional roller coaster. And immediately, like that fast, I shifted as a person. See, my grandmother wasn't just a normal grandmother. Uh, Being an immigrant, not coming to the United States till she was in her 20s, never learned how to drive a car, worked the same job for 50 years, got picked up, lived in the same house the whole time I was alive. Every Christmas I ever had was at her house. Small little tiny house. Oh, by the way, she's German. They're loud people. So 30 people in a room that's basically the size of a bedroom for Christmas and just loud, right? It's the only thing I knew. Uh, I learned work ethic from watching her. I learned love and service. Like for you guys who know me, know anything about me, my intention in life before I die is to love and serve people the best way I can with every resource that I know how to have or can go get. I learned that from her. You'd go to her house and look, I know it's a grandmother thing, but you go to her house, she wants to feed you. And by the way, tell her what you want because she's going to make that. And if your friend's there with you, she's going to make whatever he wants too. And it could be two separate different meals. She's going to do it. She never knew how to not do something. She would work. She worked in a factory that made cookies, right? Not a high school job, but she went every day. She showed up every day early, worked hard, same job, knew everyone that worked with her, loved everyone. Come home. My grandfather eventually became disabled, military vet. She took care of him, bathed him, took care of him, fed him, loved him, even though he was a hard man to love. She'd get up, work the garden, clean the pool, go yard selling on a Saturday. Like everyone who knew her, she only knew how to love and serve people. I learned so much from her. Matter of fact, one of the most disappointing things in my life is a lot of the stories that I heard about her upbringing. It's hard to remember because, I'm 7, 8, 9, 10. And I did hear the same story a lot of times. And I wish I paid more attention. What I do know is some of the meanings behind those messages did attach to me. One of those big lessons that I learned from her was, go see the world. Don't see it through a camera lens. Don't see it through the internet. Go see the world and go experience it, because through travel, through people, you're going to learn so much about yourself and about really what's most important in life, which for me is love and service of people. I really mean that. So going back to that day, I went from this high emotion point to immediately boom. And I felt my heart immediately change. Immediately. And honestly, probably until this year, it's remained pretty hardened. The questions of, why would this happen? Right? Why now? Why couldn't I wait a week so she could meet my daughter? Right? Like, and even now that it does hurt. Right? My daughter has never gotten to know her other through stories, and it's not really the same. My son never really got to know her well enough. And, there's also a lot of the things that I regret. The last 10 years before that, I was not as intentional with my relationship. I got busy living my life and neglected relationships. And look, that's the way life goes. Every parent experiences their kid leaving. I'm sure that's a tough thing. I'm sure I'm going to feel that pain at some point in life too, right? Your kid's leaving. But that is the way life's supposed to be. You're not supposed to hold on to that. You're meant to train them, teach them, educate them, love them, support them, let them go into the world. And obviously, same thing for a grandparent. But I wish, even knowing what the outcome in life was going to be anyway, I wish I would have been a little bit more intentional with taking that phone call, a little more intentional when I showed up, being a little more present, asking more questions, listening a little more intently and a little deeper. But here's some of the things that I remember very vividly that I like to kind of share, even if it's for my own therapy right now. I remember her making her Bavarian dishes of Rouladen and Spätzle. I've never found it the way she makes it ever anywhere in the world. And I've traveled. I've had it in Germany. It's not the same. Her recipe was a little different. I loved watching her love poured into how she cooked for people. It was a way of her just giving truly love. I love listening to her stories about growing up in Germany during World War II, holding a friend's hand as an American plane is shooting down. She's holding someone's hand. They're hit, killed right in front of her. I mean, you're talking about inches away, a foot away from that being her, and I'm not here today. Listening to the whole part of her life as a kid growing up during that time. Listening to how they had to walk to the market to get food, grab bread on a daily level. Just a different world than I grew up in. How they warmed the bed with actually sliding something from the stove, the wooden stove that they would burn wood from, taking something out, sliding under the bed to warm the bed at night because it was so cold. How she had to walk pretty much everywhere, right? And then when she comes to America, never learning how to drive a car, but still learning how to get a job. Man, there's so many people can learn a lesson from that today. But also, even when people were not kind, even family members, maybe she felt a certain way, she didn't show it. She didn't let emotion judge her love and service for people. And that was probably the biggest lesson that I ever can learn. And it's still something that I try to live intently with every single day. I remember walking home from the school, and I'm in elementary school, and I walk home. I'd go to her house first. Remember, I lived 2 streets over. I'd walk to her house first. She lived literally right behind the school. And she's still at work at the time. She would get home, a little bit after I got to her house. And she would have inside the refrigerator that she had pre-made that morning a little parfait. It would have some jello and some yogurt and some fresh fruit and a little whipped cream on top. She'd have it ready for me when I got home. Like, she always thought so many steps ahead of how to take care of people. Matter of fact, for those who know me, like, you want to know why I am that way? I saw the example. People see better than they hear. And I heard it from her, but I really saw it from her. So after this news of my grandmother passing, obviously immediately devastation. Uh, when we got the families together to do the service, I ran the service, and I spoke just about some of the stories I'm sharing with you right now. There's so many more that I would like to be able to share. Kind of the real message today is, who's in your life right now who's done that to you? Maybe you're not as intently listening anymore. Maybe you're not giving attention to it. Could be your spouse, your pastor, your mother, your grandmother, a friend. Where can you make sure you don't let a day go by that you don't call someone or take the call? I'm even saying this to myself. My parents live 3 miles from me, and I don't spend enough time with them. I know we can all use the same excuse. Life's busy, but we all have this, and we still don't make the call, or we don't, or we take the time and then we're on our phones. I'm so guilty of this. And then when an experience happens to you that's devastating and hurts, and your heart changes, what's it going to take to get that back to where it needs to be? And why does that happen? When are you studying yourself and figuring out, like, am I wasting away? Am I just existing in life, or am I living? Am I living to my potential? Or am I just existing? Because I know my grandmother would have been disappointed in me for a lot of years. It looked like I was very successful, and in a lot of ways I was. I was very blessed in a lot of ways because I worked for it. But there's a lot of pieces of me that were hurting that I just stuffed and poured myself into work as my mask to protect myself from feeling. And I'm sure I've hurt a lot of people by doing that. I'm sure that there's a lot of people who needed me better or more, and I wasn't available emotionally. Or if I was, it was very limited level. So are there people in your life that have impacted you that you need to pour back into? Or maybe they're no longer available to you, like my grandmother, but you need to be more intently focused on the people that are in your circle, and you need to love on them and serve them a little bit better. I want to share something with you that's, to me, powerful. Well, I'm going to share 2 things with you. First, and by the way, my daughter's born on the 5th. My grandmother theoretically passes away on the 6th. My wife's birthday is on the 6th. So days that are important in my family are also important for another reason as well, too. My grandmother's name, Ursula Israel. She died at 77. She was a loving wife of 55 to my grandfather, Ray Israel. Ursula was born in Ulm, Germany, southern Germany, became an American citizen in 2000. I remember her studying for this test, guys, Matter of fact, I believe somewhere the card I wrote her in the year 2000, 23 years ago, congratulating her. She had to go to Atlanta, but I remember her studying for this test. I'm gonna tell you guys, this test was no joke. Most of you guys can't pass this test. But when she got to go take this test, my mom took her there. They didn't even ask her any of the questions. They basically just checked some boxes but she stopped them, says, no. I practiced for this thing for months. You're going to make me take this test. And sure enough, the guy took her through the test. Okay. So her greatest joy in life was spending time with her family. And she'll, says in here, she'll truly be missed by all who knew her. Well, yeah, 100%. She was a blessing. I'll tell you some of the sad things that happen when somebody dies, though. Besides the fact that emotionally, sometimes it can stunt you or shut you down. Man, what does it do to a family when the matriarch of the family passes away? It splits the family up, and my family was split up. Immediately that day, my family changed. We went from a large family, or a medium-sized family, we'll say, to tiny. We're just now starting to work on that 10 years later. Why did it have to happen that way? But here's the thing I want to show you that's pretty powerful. If you can hear this, I'll put this up here. And if you remember, I said at the beginning of this call, my daughter was born at 4:08 on August 5, 2013. This message is from August 5th, 2013 at 5:01 p.m.
Hello, this is Granny. Congratulations to Daddy and Mommy. I'm happy for you guys. Love you. Bye-bye.
It's less than an hour after my daughter was born. I didn't take the phone call. I didn't take the phone call because I was wrapped up in what was going on with my daughter. And I'm not mad about it. I mean, I was where I needed to be. But she tried to call me. I didn't answer. But I did call her back. And I'm happy I did that because it was the last time I was able to talk to her. But I still have that on my phone 10 years later. I don't listen to it a lot. But you got someone in your life that has poured into you, loved you. You owe it. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to those people. Do not ever become stagnant in life. Keep growing. Keep pushing. Whatever problems you have in your life, whatever excuses you put in front of yourself, wherever you're hard, stopped, won't let yourself push through an obstacle because you're just broken, or whatever excuse you tell yourself, cut it out. Study yourself, figure it out, because your life's short. She made it 77. I'll be lucky if I get there. Blessed, maybe. And she lived full out. Who's that person in your life? And are you actually that person for someone else? Let's live with some more intentional, purpose-driven moments. Study yourself. Work on the parts that are weak, that you know they're there, that you don't want to tell anybody, you're scared to tell somebody. Is it your mindset? Is it your heart? Is it your soul? People are counting on you. All right. Hey, Granny, I love you.